Welcome to Sports Cards once again. In ultra-modern cards, when you pull an error card from a pack 999 out of 1,000 times, that card is not going to be worth much of anything. Modern error cards are almost always the result of printing malfunctions and seem to be increasingly common. They are not sought, they're just annoying. But throughout the annals of sports card history, there have been quite a few iconic error cards that are still very highly sought by many. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the most well-known and popular error cards. First one here is the 1988 Topps Al Leiter rookie. The first rookie that came out for Al Leiter had a picture of someone else on it. Steve George, who never actually made the majors, was featured on the first card. The card was corrected quite quickly, so there are not that many of the error card out there. 1952 Topps Joe Page and Johnny Sane. There's two different cards actually. Now, nowadays it's not actually that crazy uncommon for the wrong backs to be put on cards, but this is an error that is slightly different than that. At first glance, everything looks fine. You got the right name there, but the bio is actually a totally different person. Johnny Sane had nothing to do with Joe Page at all, and looking at the back of Sane's cards, it's the bio of Joe Page. Nowadays, while both are quite highly sought error cards, Sane's are usually more valuable since he accomplished more in his baseball career. 1981 Fleer Greg Nettles. Now, even for me, when I first wrote his name on my script here, I accidentally wrote Craig, but Greg is with a G, not a C. The back of the card made this exact same mistake. 1909 to 1911 T206 Piedmont Sherry McGee. This T206 set is particularly iconic. This is where you'd find the Honus Wagner card that is worth generational super wealth. But this card is actually very highly sought as well. Combining the fact that this is from a set so iconic with the fact that it's an error card where his last name is spelled wrong, it should be M-A-G-E-E, not M-A-G-I-E, and the fact that this guy was actually really good, and this becomes a very valuable card. 1989 Upper Deck Dale Murphy. Now this is actually one of the more sought error cards from the 1980s. It's kind of hard to tell at first, but the image is actually reversed. You may not catch it, but if you look at the name on his jersey or the A on his hat, you can tell something feels off. 1954 Bowman Emlyn Tunnel. This is another name misspelling card. Tunnel's last name should have two L's, this one printed with just one. The fact that Tunnel also is important historically, as the first African American ever inducted into the Football Hall of Fame, makes this card particularly sought. In a crazy addition to this, it seems Bowman didn't learn from their mistake and made the exact same spelling mistake in the following year. 1989 Upper Deck Gary Sheffield rookie. Now, not all error cards are really particularly sought. Some become iconic, others just become a side note to the card. This one is of the latter variety, where the SS for shortstop was printed upside down. This card is not so valuable. It can be bought raw for under $1 pretty easily, so if you want an error card for your own collection, you might as well get this one. It's easy to find for next to nothing. The next one, 1977 Star Wars C-3PO Anthony Daniels. Now this isn't a sports card, but I had to include it in this list for hilarity. Colloquially referred to as the Golden Rod variation, for obvious reasons, this card may just be the most sought for Star Wars card that exists. 1987 Donruss Opening Day Barry Bonds. Now how this mistake was made in the first place is a bit perplexing. I mean, Barry Bonds wasn't some scrub at the end of the bench or something, but to put Johnny Ray's picture and say it's Barry Bonds is a mistake that's hard to imagine how it made it to the assembly line, but it did. And since it was quickly fixed, there aren't that many of this error card out there, making it quite highly sought. 1948 Leaf Gene Hermansky. Now, when error cards pop up in sets that are also very iconic in the hobby, usually it results in something that collects collectors' attention, and that's the case with this one. 1948 Leaf is a very iconic set in the annals of sports card history. Actually, I'm planning on making a video later about this set specifically, so keep an eye out for that one. And Hermansky's name was spelled wrong. That has made this quite a highly sought error card. 1990 Donruss Ken Griffey Jr. Now this may just be the most minor error card of all, but it's still a well-recognized error card because it's Griffey. All that's going on here is there's a period missing after the ink in the copyright note in the upper right-hand part of the back of the card. I'm sure you'd never notice it if it wasn't specifically pointed out to you in this video or somewhere else. But this is another one that's an easy, cheap purchase for like a quarter or something if you're looking to put together a personal collection of error cards. Next, we've got the 2006 Topps Alex Gordon. Now, we've all made mistakes with cards when prospecting young up-and-coming talent, But this is a different level. When preparing to release its 2006 set, Topps assumed Alex Gordon would be called up from the minors to make his MLB debut to start the 2006 season. But he wasn't. His rookie season was actually the following season. This pre-rookie card, I guess you could call it, is actually quite sought now as it's considered a short printed error card. 1969 Topps Mickey Mantle. It's common in some vintage cards that when you combine a card that is special in some way with some minor error, suddenly the card becomes much more sought and valuable. That's the case with this Mickey Mantle card from the last set of cards he was ever featured in as an active player. The difference is minor, but it's Mickey Mantle, so it's sought. The normal cards have his last name in yellow, the more rare and more sought error cards have his last name printed in white. 1992 Upper Deck Michael Jordan. Can you spot the difference here between the error card and the regular one? In the more sought and more valuable error card, the stamp in the upper right corner says 1985-1990 two-time champion, while the correct one says 1987-1989 two-time champion. This card is referring to the Dunk Championship, and they must have been stamping with the stamp for Dominique Wilkins' card on the Jordan error card, since the Human Highlight film had been the Dunk Champion in 1985 and 1990. 1989 Fleer Bill Ripken. Even if you've never been too interested in error cards, there's a good chance you'd know about this one. If you look closely at the bottom of Ripken's bat here, you can see some words none too PG. Supposedly this wasn't actually Ripken's bat, so he was unaware what it said when they asked to take his photo. To add to the lore of this particular card, there have actually been many different variations of this card that attempt to blot out the curse words, from whiteout to white scribble to black box to a rounded black box, meaning some people may even end up seeking out the rainbow of variations to go along with this card. This is one of the most iconic of all error cards out there. 1990 Topps Frank Thomas Rookie. In 1990, baseball cards were in the midst of some of the worst overproduction the hobby of sports cards has ever seen. But then along comes a card of a great, that out of a sheer error becomes a short-printed, very highly sought rookie, with a print run of somewhere in the 250 to 500 range. The error here is that Frank Thomas's name was not printed on the front. The light blue box there is meant to house his name, and it's missing. A well-graded version of this card can actually fetch well into the 5 digits, despite the fact that the normal card costs nearly nothing. Raw versions abound for $1 or so. With that being said, that's all we have for this video. Please come back for the next one. Check you later. Peace.